Can I start waving at people? No. Why not? Live. Hello and welcome to JSP today to listen to our Dust Kills webinar. Looking forward to talking through all of the things that that Dave and I know about respiratory protection. Between us, Dave and I have been doing respiratory stuff for over 60 years and using PPE. We just worked out using and selling PPE for over 100 years between us. So yeah.
More on your side than mine.
Well, maybe that's because I'm just a little bit more experienced, Dave. So looking forward to sharing that information with you. The webinar today is being recorded, so we will be sending out a copy of the recording to everyone that was part of the webinar. So shouldn't be any need to take notes as you go, but obviously you're more than welcome to. The couple of instances, I think, where we've got some QR codes coming up, which will give you the opportunity to click on, and then I think there's a size gauge that you'll get from us will be sent out when we do that. So we're just waiting to see everyone's in before we pull up the presentation. Hopefully that will start soon. Whilst we're going through the presentation, please do put any questions you have in the chat, and we will look at those at the end of it. So we're doing this today in conjunction with the Lighthouse Charity, the construction charity, as part of their Work Safely Week. So hoping to share a bit of that information with you. So we'll kick off. I think I'm going to try and advance the slide, and we go to presenters today as myself, Matthew Judson, and Dave Hampson. Both of us, have been around PP a long time. Hopefully we know a little bit, and we'll take you through all those things. So I'm going to talk for a little bit at the beginning, then I'll rest my voice, and then we'll let Dave back in to talk to you all as well.
The star.
Well, one of us is a star, Dave. One of us. So we got some general stuff there that the legal people tell me we must do. So hopefully you've read all of that stuff, but it's all important. One of the first things I really want to look at is face coverings and why they're not going to protect you from the dust and stuff you've got around. These were great during the sort of pandemic period, and they're very good at protecting other people from you. So they will stop your germs going across them, and all sorts of different types of dust masks. Many of them we saw that were sewn together and used during that period, and lots of different styles of ways of doing it, and lots of different colors. One of the benefits of having a black one is that you don't know when it's dirty, which is never a good idea for a respiratory product. You really need to be changing that before they get contaminated. Also, what we saw a lot of was things with exhale valves on it. Now, the point of wearing a mask during the pandemic was to stop your breath getting out onto everyone else and infecting them. So an exhale mask, while it makes it a lot more comfortable, doesn't actually mean that you're offering anyone any protection from yourself. So not good. Lots of products came into the market, and you can still find these around on the market. KN95 masks with ear loops on it. Lots of testing's been done on things of ear loop masks, and they really don't work. They don't have enough security on the face, and they tend to move around, so that whilst the filter media is great, the actual protection they give, because you get lots of leakage around the edges, is not good. And to try and stop that, the HSE did do a big examination where they looked at lots of product, did lots of testing, and determined that they really don't work. So you mustn't be using ear loop masks on a construction project anywhere in the UK. So what are the exposures that we've got? What are the things that we're trying to protect us against? Within the construction environment, there's an awful lot of stuff out there that's going to that can give you all sorts of problems. Silica dust is the main one. It's the one that the HSE have been going on about for a long time. And surprisingly, there are still people who are not doing the things that they need to do around silica dust. So it's one of those things, it will get in the lungs and it will stay there. It's as bad as asbestos. You get in there, it damaged them, and you can't recover from it. So we need to keep silica dust out. Wood dust, lots of that around. Obviously, the picture that we got there is someone doing a bit of sculpting, not really what I call construction, but you're going to be generating dust with saws, etc., in there, and you want to keep the wood dust out. For a long time, we always talked about hardwoods being the carcinogenic ones and softwoods being okay, but more and more evidence has come to the light that shows that actually all sorts of wood dust are going to give you problems, so we need to keep those out. The sort of engineered wood dust that we have, MDF, very common, used to see on the TV programs when they're doing all the redesign stuff. Everyone was using MDF, and they have some little disposable dust mask on it, which really doesn't do the trick. There's a lot of stuff in engineered wood dust, the glues, preservatives, etc., that come off it, and you need to be aware of that, particularly if you're doing it all the time. You know, the odd person doing a bit of DIY wood, he can probably get away with coughing it up at the end of the day. But if you're using this all the time, you need to be much better protected. Diesel exhaust, although, you know, the world's going electric, there's still plenty of vehicles around on construction sites, moving stuff around, pallet trucks. You know, occasionally you'll still find a cement mixer going, although most of them I know are in big towers now, but all sorts of things around to do it. And even that cut-off saw we saw earlier of doing the silica dust is going to generate some exhaust fumes, and you need to protect yourselves from those as well. Asbestos is still out there. It's amazing where it got to. I mean, you know, it was, when it came out, it was a fabulous material, could do all sorts of things. And indeed, you know, back in the First World War, we actually made respirator filters using asbestos because it was the wonder material. Obviously, we know a bit more about it these days, and you want to keep away from it. So you must be well protected from that. And it can come up all over the place. Hopefully, most of them have warning signs on, like we can see in this image, but it's not always going to be the case. Welding fume is a hazard with a lot of prefabricated buildings when we're putting them together. It's amazing how all the engineers, I'm sure there'll be many of you on the call, the engineers make it and everything's right, and then we arrive and it doesn't quite work, and we need to start cutting stuff and re-welding it and all the rest of it. So it is still going to be something that causes a problem. Superheat the metal, generates a very fine mist, and we need to keep that out, and it's that mist condensing, which is what we call welding fume. Solvents that we use around, whether it be in paints or glues, etc., to bond things together, you need to have the right sort of protection from that. Some more and more solvents in these days are organic solvents, so we need a filter similar to the one that we've got there, that's got a carbon layer inside the particular filtering product. So this particular respirator would be great for rubbing stuff down and then repainting it as well. But we've got to make sure we get the right sort of protection for those things. And finally, finally, if I've remembered the slide sequence, finally, cleaning up stuff as well. Obviously, the old ban the broom stuff, and we want to hoover up stuff. It's not always going to be practical. Sometimes people are still going to need to use a broom, but we need to make sure that we are well protected when we're doing that, so that we're not going to generate all that dust. Even though we think it's not there, as soon as you start stirring it up, dust gets created. And we'll see some images in a little bit about how that sort of thing happens. So how is it the dust gets in and causes you a problem? There's sort of two types of dust. The inhalable dust is the dust that gets stuck in your nose, etc. That at the end of the day, if you blow your nose on your hanky, and inspect it, although why you'd want to do that, I don't know, but people do, you'll see lots of dust and stuff on your hanky. But it will get in there. It can cause problems in the nasal passages, etc. But the stuff that we're really worried about, that what gets past all your natural defences, is the dust that gets down inside and gets into the lower reaches of your lungs, not the upper section of your lungs, as we're saying here, the respirable dust. Okay, so that'll still give you problems with nasal cancer, etc., as we had in the previous one, but it's going to get down further into the lungs and give you those problems where it can't get out. So asbestos, silica dust, the welding fume, etc., that will come down and give you all those sorts of problems that we're listing on that screen there. And those are the things that build up gradually over time. The first time you do it, you'll get up the next day and you go, oh, I don't know what the problem is. But when you've been doing it for a long time, that's when you start seeing people who get serious issues going on in their lungs and have limited mobility and etc. because of that. So it's the small size stuff, the stuff that you can't see, the dust that's in the air that you can't see, that gets down and gets stuck in the lungs and gets trapped there, and that causes the damage that's done. Now, just sort of way to try and visualize what the difference is between bits of dust that you can and can't see that get stuck in your lungs. We've got an image here of a human hair. I can't remember if I've got one up that's got some arrows on the next one or not. Yes, we have. There we go. So the dust particles that we are really concerned about are these small ones down at the 2.5 micron level. So they're the ones that get in and are going to cause you problems. Most of the sort of large granular size stuff is going to get trapped by your nose and it'd be the inhalable rather than the respirable dust. The real dodgy stuff, obviously, this is a slide that comes and has got the coronavirus on. As you can see, it's down there very low. So a lot of the products that we're looking at from a respiratory point of view that you're using in a day-to-day work that are going to have exhale valves and etc. on all the time are not going to stop the particles being exhaled. What we hope is that when you're doing that, is that exhale particle will have a droplet around it and it makes the coronavirus thing bigger, and that's how it gets stopped in all of those nuisance type surgical masks that we have around it. And those nuisance masks, surgical masks, are very good at stopping a spreading diseases. So if you are feeling unwell, it's always good to turn up to work actually wearing some sort of respirator type mask to protect people. So when we look at what can happen if you breathe all these dusts in, we've gone through them all. Obviously, we've got the nasal and the lung cancers. We've got the silicosis, which is non-recoverable type stuff. It's getting down in your lungs. The COPD is getting down in the respiratory tract and causing you all sorts of problems. The asthma, and there are other hazards that it does. Not only is it respiratory hazards, but it can also give you other problems. It can affect the nervous system disorders as those things get into the blood, etc., and affect you. Can cause heart disease when you're breathing all of that stuff in. Bladder cancers. It can have damage to the reproductive system. So it can be quite an issue that's going on there. Okay, I don't know. I'm seeing some odd stuff on my screen. I don't know if that's happening to everyone else, but someone's going to sort it out. I'll carry on anyway. So when we're talking about all these dusts that we can't see, what is it that's causing a problem? So this is an image, as it says in the annotation at the bottom, that the health and safety executive passed to us when they've been trying to do for many years. They've been trying to get the word out about respirable diseases. So this chap, he's sanding down a piece of wood. It looks like there's no issue. Why would he wear a respirator? But if we put the light on in a different way, so if we backlit it and lit it from below, what we can see is a huge amount of dust there that's causing a problem. And that is probably, if those of you who've sort of walks around buildings, etc., you can go in, see your mother's been cleaning up really well, everything looks spick and span, and what she's just been doing is creating more dust around, and we've got lots of dust in the room. And it's only when the sunlight catches it that you can see that as an issue. So what we're really trying to make sure is that people are aware of the fact that there's lots of dust out there a lot of the time that you can't see that's going to cause a problem. So you go on a work site and you go, oh, I don't need to wear a mask, I can't see anything. Now, there is actually something there that's causing you a problem. So one of the things that the Health and Safety Executive done to try and make it easy, that might be their perspective rather than anyone else's, but to try and make it easy is produce various information sheets for all sorts of industries, but certainly the construction industry. This one, information sheet number 36, and if you put CIS 36 into Google or anything, this will pop up and give you the details. And what they've tried to do in there is actually give you some guidance on the sort of products that you need to be doing for particular applications. So if we look at cutting roof tiles there, you can see the sort of things that that we're trying to do, but they're saying in that right-hand column, water suppression and a dedicated cutting area, and RPE with an APF of 20. So that's respiratory protective equipment with an assigned protection factor of 20. And there are a large number of different ranges of assigned protection factors, and we are talking about the UK market here. So I don't know if we've got any international listeners on, but there are different requirements in different countries. Even when we were part of the EU, you'll find different countries in the EU have different requirements as well. So it can be a bit of a minefield to work around. So the sort of products that have an APF of 20 are FFP3 disposable dust masks, or something higher than that, like half mask or full face masks, or powered air products, which are certainly much more suitable for people like myself with a beard. But Dave will talk about that in a bit more detail later on. As well as the construction industry 36 document, there is also HSG 53, which is a wonderful read if you're suffering from insomnia. But it does have some good information in it, despite that, about how to select, look after respiratory equipment in the workplace. So the law says a number of things, and they're there trying to protect us from doing stuff. So it's when we decide to use RPE, there's some laws around what we're doing it, what are the accepted codes of practice for the work that you're doing, and have you taken appropriate measures that should prevent or control exposure. Because what we must remember is that respiratory protective equipment, like all PPE, is your last line of defense. It's not the first thing that you should be doing. And you would do that by going through that risk assessment process and documenting it, so that if the HSE do come on site, you can say, oh yeah, we've looked at this and this is why we've arrived at those decisions to do that, and we've got it written down and recorded, and we know what we're doing. And if you've done that and you've actually done some selected some masks and done some fit testing, you're probably going to be okay. Probably, you can never say definitely for every situation. And maybe we're not legally required to do it, but I would suggest it's always a very good idea to do that, because whilst you're not legally required, should one of your employees at some point in the future say, well, no, I got infected by that, and they come back to look at it, if you've got it written down, then you're going to be okay, or better off. So when we use RPE, we only want to use it where there is a inhalation exposure. What we don't want to do is be putting people with masks on in areas they don't need to be, because you get people who just go, oh, they're just making me do it. And you get people will get a blasé about whether or not they need to put the stuff on. We need to make sure that we're putting in other control measures, as I say, to make sure that we're doing it, and those things that were identified in that construction industry comments from the HSE. We can use it for temporary control, but only while we're setting it up to do something. We need to make sure that we've done all the other things reasonably practical first to do it, so that we can only use it for limited periods of time. So one of the easiest things, I've been using this diagram for a year or two now, to try and take people through the process of what they're doing. So we'll go through it again, and I'm more than happy for people to use it in their own workplaces. So the first thing we look at is can we get rid of that hazard? Can we do something different? So yeah, when we're looking at curbstones, the nice people who cast all those concrete things have made them in sections, and they've got curves and all sorts of bits. But hopefully you can do that, but maybe sometimes you can't get away without having a cut curbstone because some architects design some really freaky parking arrangement that needs some very odd cuts. So you might not be able to eliminate it. Can we use an alternative method for doing stuff? So for instance, if you were going to design a building, if you can do precast stuff, then it's an alternative to making it out of bricks and having to chop bricks on site. But it's not always practical or even aesthetically desired. So someone wants to do something else. So we try and use a different process, as I said, precast bits and pieces. Is there a different way of cutting stuff up that doesn't create the dust in the same way? Can we isolate it? So when we're looking back at that cutting roof tiles bits, they were talking about having a designated cutting area. Might not always be possible to do that. So can we in some way partially enclose it and put some extraction unit on it? Either extraction on the tool or extraction in a space. Can we suppress the hazard? So when we're looking at that earlier slide with the cut-off saw going, it should have some water suppression equipment working with it. Got to make sure that water suppression equipment is working, but you should be able to suppress it. Having done all of those things, you still need to assess what residual hazard is there, so you know what sort of level it is you want to protect against. And then select the appropriate respiratory protective device for the hazard that you're working with. And Dave will talk a bit more about selecting adequate respiratory protective devices, because Dave is adequate, very, very adequate. Can we ensure the suitability of it? And that's perhaps after making sure we've got it right, is making sure the suitability is spot on. And Dave will go over that in quite some detail, and it's very important stuff that we need to do. But one of the biggest things that people forget is they've done all of that, we've done the fit testing and all the rest of it. Great, we've done it. Now we still need to make sure the people who are working with it understand how to use it and understand how to look after it. We can produce the world's best respiratory protective equipment, and obviously I might argue that we do. But if people don't look after it properly, it's not going to do the things we need it to do. So what are the things out there that are available to work with? There are, I'm just going to use JSP examples, but obviously there are, I think as the BBC, other manufacturers are available, would say. Different types of products. There you go. We've got 3 different styles of disposable dust mask. And it's all about making sure you get one that fits yourself. Our research that we've done with the M632 mask that we brought out in the last few years has shown that it does fit a majority of people because of the face seal features we've got on it, but it's not going to fit everyone. Sometimes we might need to use one of the FlexiNet type masks, or indeed the spring fit, which fold up neatly, so they're very easy to carry around in the toolbox until you need to use them. But they are all non-reusable disposable dust masks designed to be used for a day and then use a new one the following day or for the next task. If we want to get a little bit better than that, or a little bit better, in my opinion, than that, we would be looking at using product that's designed to be compatible. One of the problems with the human face is that we've yet to develop something that works for all sorts of things. So Darwin was right. We will evolve. We'll eventually evolve a PPE face, but I think it's going to take many generations, and I'll be long forgotten by then. But at the moment, we've got product like our filter spec that allows eye protection and respiratory to be both worn on the nose, which is the problem with these things, without any compromise to the level of protection that you'll get for your eyes and for your lungs. A product that is much more common these days in disposable dust masks is the reusable half mask type respirator. Because it's reusable, in the long run, it's going to save you money over disposable dust masks, but it's also a more sustainable approach because you can reuse it, you can clean it, and you can keep working with it. And it does allow for a fitting of a range of different types of filters that will give you better protection for all of those hazards that we talked about earlier, you know, whether it be just dust or whether we've got gases and vapors coming out or fumes coming out. We can then offer combinations of protection for working with all of those things. If we need to work with a multiple level of hazards, then what we've got is product that we've developed to all work together to make sure we have compatible personal protective equipment. So in this case, head, eye, and respiratory protection is all being used there. And of course, we can mount ear defenders on those helmets as well, so that you can get a full level of protection without compromising the performance of any of those elements. We can get a much better compatibility with the product. We did with the half masks and the filters. We do have a press to check facility. As much as I tried to argue with the HSE a few years ago that it would be a fit test, we were thoroughly smacked down, and it is a fit check. But what it does mean is that every time you put the respirator on, whether it be a half mask or a full face mask, which we'll look at in a minute, you can check the seal of the mask by simply squeezing those filters together. It will close them off, and then you can tell whether you've got any leakage coming in around the face seal. So it really is a very good way of making sure that you're going to get the protection that you expect to get from the product you're given. But yeah, we stopped. Oh, there we go. And sort of next level up is too many presses going on there. The next level up from a half mask is the full face mask. So this is going to give you where you've got those higher risks. If you wanted to work with asbestos, for instance, you would need to be wearing one of these with P3 filters on, as well as the whole Tyvek type, other brands are available, suit to protect you for your clothing, etc., so you can be clean and work carefully. But you know, asbestos, there are people who are paid to do that, so we'll try and move into that. But it does give you a much better level of protection. The P3 filters that we can fit on that, whereas the HSE was saying we needed an sun protection factor of 20 for working with silica, when we put P3 filters on a full face mask, you actually get a sun protection factor of 40. So it is a very high level of protection that you can get from that. Powered air stuff, as obviously Beardy might like me. I can't get a face seal using a disposable mask, a half mask or a full face mask. So I'd need to go to a powered air product. Within the HSE guidance on construction dust, we're looking at a TH2 device, which gives you a sun protection factor of 20, which is what the Jetstream is. If you really want to go up a little bit further than that, we can then get to our PowerCap Infinity product, which again is a much higher level of protection, gives you a sun protection factor of 40, and incorporates all the things together that you need. So head, hearing, respiratory, and eye protection can be worn with that product. Okay. Infinity. There you go. There's a slide I'd forgotten about, showing the product in a number of standard colours. I think if you want other colours, you've got to order quite a few of those to get a different colour helmet. But those are the standard ones that we do. Oh, there we go. I've missed you out almost there for a second, Dave. Sorry. So we'll hand over to Dave now, who will take you through the sort of adequate, as I say, adequate,
yes,
adequate, all's good, and suitability of a respirator, but all very important stuff.
I'm certainly not suitable in a lot of cases. As it says there, I'm fit to fit accredited. I've just finished November, I think it was, my last accreditation, which will take me to 2028, I think. I don't think I'll be doing it then. Hopefully, I'm not going to do another accreditation for quantitative or qualitative fit testing. That I think I'll have.
We're not going to let him get away that easily.
I'm getting to look a little bit old these days. Right, so I'm going to go through respirators and fit testing and explain a bit more about adequate and suitable. So adequate is right for the hazard. So the filters are going to protect you against the hazard and the environment that you're working in, and reduce the exposure to a level which is going to be safe. When you've got suitable, it has to be right for the wearer. So that's where face fit testing comes in, and on all different sizes of respirator come in. And so it has to be suitable. That's going to fit you comfortably, enable you to do the task and work in the environment. So this make sure there's no extra risk to doing that. So the suitability is making sure that whatever the risk is, the filters will protect you against that, and the right respirator size, shape, model, and protection factor is correct as well. So selecting adequate, you've got to identify the hazard, what the hazard actually is, and the amount of the hazard, which will then determine which filter to use and what protection factor you need to cover that. What the substance comes in, is it a dust, is it a vapor, is it a fume or a mist? And this is a dust one. So if you're dealing with wood dust, then a particulate filter, P3, would be the filter of choice. If you are spraying mist, water vapors on trying to jet wash and clean materials down, a P3 filter will also protect you against that. So it's still a particulate filter it's protecting you against. Then if you're using organic vapors, solvents, sprays, glues, chemicals, then you need a filter what's going to take away the chemicals. So organic vapors are taken away with A filters. Inorganic vapors are B filters. Then you've got sulfur dioxide and ammonia filters, which can be in a ABEC filter, which will cover all of the problems. The only thing they won't do is protect you if you're oxygen deficient. So obviously these products can only be used in well ventilated areas where there's no risk of working in a confined space. And the last one of these is the welding fume. And again, that is an extremely fine particle, which you can see when it's backlit like that. Looks quite dramatic, doesn't it? It's quite impressive. So selecting an adequate PPE, as we just said, identify the exposure risk, make sure we know what the substance is, and then match the filter to the substance and its form. So if it's a particulate, it's a P3. If it's a chemical issue, then you put an activated charcoal filter in, which is what's the word for it? It's specified for which its construction is for a specific chemical, and that's what it will filter out in the activated charcoal performance. And make sure the protection factor is enough. Like we just said before, we have protection factors in dust of an APF of 20 or an APF of 40, depending on the filter, on the respirator. The filter material can more or less stay the same. It's the amount of leakage they get. So adequate, again, making sure it's suitable for the hazards and protects the wearer's health, and then suitable that it fits and works with you. On the suitability, you need to make sure that, excuse me, I'm blowing up a little bit, that it works with all your other PPE. So got Matthew had a slide on before. I don't use the slide. I've got the kit here. This, if you're doing a face fit and you need to have other PPE being worn, like this visor built on here, it has to make sure that it fits around the respirator and will give work together as compatible products. If you've got a high-vis jacket with a high collar with a zip, then you've got to make sure that is being worn when you're being face fitted, so that the zip on the collar doesn't push the respirator off your face, which obviously is not good. And also, it's important to make sure that your eye protection. Lots and lots of people are always coming up to me and say, "Oh, my glasses steam up." Well, if you buy these glasses, yeah, they will steam up. You buy these glasses, they won't steam up. So for an extra £1, you know, get the purchasing people to make sure they specify a anti-scratch, anti-mist spectacle. K&N is a brand which we have on certain ones of our products, and make sure everything will work together. Just get rid of that again. Here's one I made earlier, as I say, on the cookery programs. So make sure it is suitable and everything's going to work together in your area. So making sure your face fits. One of the slides that Matthew had on was our Foresight. I've only got a couple of them here, but we do have short, medium, small, medium and large. And we also have one which is called short wide, which is for very small facial profiles. So one of these 4 sizes should fit the person, and when it's face fit tested, give them the right level of protection and no leakage. So make sure it's going to work with the hazards. It's in conditions that they work in, the environment they work in. Will you be able to get in wearing these products into small confined spaces, and will you be able to get out the air and decontaminate it afterwards? And then make sure that as I said earlier, that the wearer isn't wearing the products in confined spaces where there is a risk that the oxygen deficient atmosphere. That obviously is seriously important. These respirators do not generate any form of oxygen. They're not like a mines rescue respirator, which self-generates oxygen. So there we are, the different sizes: short, wide, small, medium, and large. And you can order, if you go to that guide there, the QR code, we will send you a face fit guide like this in a little shiny packet, and this is what one of them looks like. So using the thing there, you put it on your nose at the top and under your chin. I've got about 3 chins, so try and find the biggest one and fit your mask to there. And then when you take it off, it will say that you are, in my case, medium. I'm certainly not in other areas a medium, but in this instance, I would be a medium respirator. And that would be the first mask that I would try, would be this mask here. Just to, as a point, before I go on, this green cover is put on for transportation purposes. So if the mask gets crushed, it doesn't deform before the wearer takes it out of the bag. It used to be black, and we had lots of issues with people ringing up to customer service saying this mask is really uncomfortable, we can't get it to fit, and they didn't actually take that off first. So we've now made it in a separate color so people realize it's not actually part of the respirator. It's just a top tip. So if you want a face guide, size guide, then please just send that QR code or go on the website, and we will send you one in the post quite quickly. So different RPE types. We have all these different sizes to make sure that we can make sure that they fit. And again, the adequate and suitable wording is there on the screen again. Making sure, with the suitability part of it, making sure everything works together. It's critical that the respirator and the eye protection and the hearing protection and your PPE clothing is all going to work together. So one of my things have been Fit to Fit accredited is that I do a lot of face fit testing. Not so much testing these days, more training. So we, in this room here, We run every month a fit test training sessions for end users to come in. Anyone can come in. You book online on our events section, and every month there is a free face fit training session, which is about a morning long. We will do some training on site if necessary, but not so much actually on the testing. So face fit testing is a legal requirement. Anyone who's wearing a tight fitting respirator has to have a face fit test done at least every 2 years. If you're in the asbestos industry, it's every 12 months. So every 2 years, you need to have a new face fit test done. You also need to have a new face fit test done if you change product. You go from a reusable mask to a disposable mask, or your face size, your weight loss, weight gain changes, or any problems you may have had, excuse me, medical or an operation or piercings, they would all affect it. So your face fit testing has to be, it's not a one size fits all and done as a ticky box every 2 years. It needs to be done on a regular basis every 2 years, or if the products change at all, or also if your other PPE changes. So if you get a new high-vis jacket with a really high collar, then that might affect your respirator, might push the respirator off your chin. Then you should have a new face fit test done for that purpose. So the only time you don't need to have a face fit done is if you're wearing a powered air respirator. Right, so we do that, and with the 3 testing methods that we've got,
to make sure
we've got. Oh, hang on, I didn't realise that slide was next. Before this slide comes on, this was found in some archive somewhere in America, and it's quite good. Hopefully the sound will come through as well. It's like a Pathé News video, and it's how face fit testing was done probably in the 40s.
To make sure it would fit various kinds and sizes of faces, it had to form a dust-tight seal on all types: the long and narrow, the medium, the round and full. To test security of fit, coal dust was blown into the air. They breathe deeply, trying to suck in all the dust they can. When the respirators are removed, the sharp white line must show not a sign of leakage around the face.
Luckily, we don't do it like that anymore.
His face is dirty, but his lungs are clean.
So I hope the sound came through on that. It wasn't in the room where we are, so it is quite amusing to see it. So there are, like I say, 2 main types of face fit testing: qualitative, which is the taste test, where you spray people with a bitter solution which gets the back of your throat, or a saccharine sweet tasting solution, which it's still not very nice, which is on the tip of your tongue. There is also an odor test using banana oil, I think it is, which is not really used anywhere in the UK. You no eating or drinking for 30 minutes prior to the test, because it can affect your taste buds, and also smoking. Smoking isn't on there, but that again, as well as not doing your lungs any good, really it affects your taste test as well. And if you don't taste the solution, you put this mask on, you do all the exercises, the 7 exercises, and you don't taste it, then you get a straight fit or no fit result. It's either you win or you lose. And then if you lose, you try a different respirator to get it. It is reliant on trust. Back in the day when I first started doing this, which was about 30-something years ago, I know, I don't look it. 30 years ago, I started doing face fit testing. I was doing a demolition company, and every single one passed with a vertical full flat mask, and which was really unusual, disposable. And as I was packing up, the guy said to me, I said, "That's really weird." I said, "Nobody normally gets that. We normally have some people in molded masks, some in full flat masks and stuff." And he turned around and said, "Well, everyone was told by the MD that if you don't pass this test, you don't work for the company anymore." So even though the chaps could taste the solution, or may have tasted the solution, they still didn't tell me. And so they all got a certificate that said they passed. So it is quite reliant on people's trust to tell you when the mask doesn't fit them properly. And also there's a lot of times when people turn around and say, "Yeah, I can taste it. Yeah, I can taste it." Well, because they don't want to wear that particular product. So it's a bit of a basic test and based on trust. And it can be used on disposables or half masks. If you're using an electronic machine, we have the control negative pressure unit, which is that one there. And then we have the which challenges the pressure on the face seal from inside the mask and make sure it works that way. Again, not something that many people use, but it is available. And same 7 exercises are used, same protocols are used to test the face seal. So to make sure that the face seal is, the 7 protocols are normal breathing, deep breathing, moving your head side to side, so you're stretching the mask from side to side. Then you're looking up at the ceiling and you're stretching the mask under your chin, and then going down to look at the floor. And then talking and bending over are other parts of the 7 exercises that you have to do. All these exercises are designed to stress the mask and try and simulate working practices on what you're doing. And it's for full face masks and half masks, and not disposable masks. On the quantitative testing method, on this system, you have the ambient counting, the APC, which on this, there are 2 versions of it, 2 manufacturers, TSI and Accutech, and they both do roughly the same job. They monitor the air inside the mask, and they also measure the air, the particle count outside the mask. And the air is pulled across a sort of camera, and with alcohol attached to it, so it can count the particles as it goes over the wick as it goes through, and that automatically gives you a fit factor. And we'll do fit factors later, but for example, for a half mask, you need a fit factor of 100, a minimum of 100 to pass, and it gives you a better result. No eating and drinking again prior to testing, and more importantly, no smoking. People who do smoke cigarettes, and I was one of those bad boys a long time ago. When you put the cigarettes out in an ashtray, I automatically assumed that was it. But there are particles of smoke what can be leaving your lungs for up to 30 minutes after you extinguish the cigarette. So if you're exhaling particles inside this respirator, which is then going through one of these 2 machines, these counting machines, it will count the smoke particles and probably give you a false reading. So it is important that the smoking one is adhered to. Also, makeup comes under that as well. Makeup particles can come off and go into the face, and it can be used for full face masks, half masks, and disposable FFP3 filters. We also have we use this as a till chamber, total inward leakage chamber. You can't carry this around. We use this a lot for R&D work at our Carterton respirator factory. And so for new products, we would test the respirators in a till chamber. And when I get to the end of this, it will show you a picture of how it works. It's got a moving walkway. Again, no smoking or eating or drinking. And there's a picture. So there's the guy on the walking exercise step, and the air has got salt in it, and it measures the leakage through the face seal. So it's part of our R&D equipment. We couldn't carry that around in a car to do face fit testing. So how to fit a mask correctly? Obviously, the straps have to go in the nape of your neck and on the crown of your head. It's really important. That's why the ear loop masks didn't were not approved after COVID, because you need to have the extra strength to make sure the mask is pulled tight and secure to your face. The other thing which is important is to make sure that the nose piece, you don't pinch the nose with one hand. You always use two hands and spread the nose clip along your face to make sure it's a smooth fit. If you do it with one hand, you can get a gap at the top, which when you pinch it, it may cause a gap. So always use two hands to mold the nose bridge to your face. Clean shaven is seriously important, and we'll discuss that in a couple of slides. So that's the way to do it, to make sure it's tested, to make sure you've got a fit check. You put your hands over the respirator, I'm not getting one off, and breathe out really hard, and make sure you can't feel any leakage around the mask itself. Make sure it doesn't leak under the chin. Most of the time, you will find that if it's not fitted correctly, people say to me, "Oh, it was getting cold in my eyes," or "I was getting black marks around my nose." Well, obviously the mask isn't fitting. It's not the right mask for you, or you've not been trained on how to fit it properly. And then do the fit check at the end, which we've just done. So on a half mask, you've got to be clean shaven. Critical that you're clean shaven before you start work. And the rule is 8 hours. Again, we'll discuss that in a little bit. Do a fit check every time you put the respirator on. So you've got your face fit certificate, which is for 2 years on this Foresight respirator size medium. And every time you put the mask on, you squeeze the filters just like so. That stops the air coming in, and then the respirator will put negative pressure and will collapse ever so slightly on your face. So that's not working, it's not on properly, but that's basically the way it will work. This filter type, where it squeezes the filter and stops the airflow inside, is better than the mesh type filters, which we also do, where you put your hand on the outside to block the air and then breathe in. Problem with that one is that you always, without meaning to, you're compromising the mask seal and putting a little bit more pressure on the mask, which may or may not improve the face seal. So doing it that way actually isn't actually putting any pressure on the face seal of the respirator. Make sure the straps are in the right place. That is important. Make sure it's fitted nicely around the nose and it's the right size for you, and under the chin. Make sure the straps aren't twisted, and make sure they fit perfectly, and do the fit check. So it goes over to the next one. So full face mask, clean shaven. People come up and say, "Oh, it's all right, I use the full face mask," which hopefully is over there. They might not be on the screen. Oh yes, they are. You don't need to have a face fit, be clean shaven. You definitely do. And again, it's the same principle. Do a fit check, make sure the mask is nicely secure to your face, and you can do the seal check again afterwards. So that is the mask with the negative pressure, full face mask or half mask. So what does the definition of clean shaven mean? In the HSC's book, it says that you have to have a shave within 8 hours of starting work. So if you start work at 6 o'clock in the morning on a 6-2 shift, the last time, or the earliest time, I never know which way around it is 10 o'clock at night. You have to have a shave every day when there is a chance that you will be wearing a respirator the following day or during your working life. It is mandatory. That what is done. So here's a video. Sorry, we're going to do this slide first, which is what Matthew covered before. We've done the visibility on that slide, and how fine a dust that a P3 filter will do. You know, if you've got a disposable mask, an FFP3, the filtration material on that is extremely good, as good as what's on a P3 respirator here, and will take out the coronavirus, as we found during the pandemic. but the rubber respirator is better to grip. The hair follicle, which is that snake-looking thing at the side, obviously I have no hair, so I can't demonstrate that anymore to you. But trust me, that's how big a hair follicle is to people. And here's the proof. Hopefully, this is Joe Kakowski, one of our business development managers, with a beard. Please remember the fit factor he needs to get with a rubber half mask is 100. You got 12. Only a little bit of stubble. Got a fit factor of 55. Again, nowhere near good enough. Shows how much leakage will get through even the slightest amount of hair. That's 4,500. It shows just how critical being clean shaven is to make the face seal work. So basically, every hair follicle what sits up like that, then the air will be the dust particles will get past it, no matter how tight it is to your face. Sometimes when the mask is really tight, it's on a disposable, it can crease, so that's not really very good neither. Anyone with beard or stubble can use our powered respirator, and this one is what we call classed as loose fitting. It's not a tight fitting respirator, so this face seal here is loose fitting, and that means that people with beards can use this. I use the word beard with some codicils to it. It's not ZZ Top. It's not, if anyone's old enough, David Bellamy. It is a neatly trimmed beard. The more you push that mask away, it's not, Matthew's beard is neatly trimmed, allegedly. It doesn't look like Wurzel Gummidge. Any hair what sticks, pushes the mask seal further and further away from the face could cause the mask to leak. This inside here is positive pressure, so it's blowing the dust away all the time, and we don't want any dust getting in. So if this seal is away from the face, there is a good chance that there is a chance of leakage in the product. I think, just one other thing, an advertisement technical tip. Thursday is on LinkedIn. Again, there's a QR code there to scan. And every week we have a different product which we test or give information on. And that lady there is Monica, who's in charge of our testing of QA department, testing our helmets. So there's a one on every week, and it's really worth seeing it on LinkedIn if you can. And the code is there to do it. And I think that might be it. And we've now got Matthew coming backstage left. All right, I'm not sure which way around that is. Have you got any questions?
Your left.
Have you my left?
So we had some questions in the chat, and we've got Ray, who's sat off screen, is going to scroll through those so that we can go back up and cover as many as we can. I think we're scheduled to finish at 12, but unless someone tells me otherwise, we'll just keep going till we run out of questions. So just looking for Ray to run us back up. He's got to go. So hopefully it's been useful. If there are any questions that we don't cover today, then please do give us a call. We can pick up on things and look for it. It looks like we haven't got any questions at the moment.
I like Vicky. I think Vicky's really nice.
Vicky's a very nice lady.
Yeah, she didn't think much of your bit, but she liked my bit. Thank you, Vicky.
Fair play. No, if you come to our site, we can give you some training on how to use our qualitative face fit test kit. And as long as you buy a kit, there'll be no charge for using that. It doesn't get you to the point of being fit to fit qualified. If you want to get fit to fit qualified, we do a training course for that as well, but it does it involves quite a number of hours, quite a number.
It's 3 days
times 3 days actual face-to-face training, but Darren likes people to go away and do a bit of work themselves in the meantime, and then of course we can facilitate the fit to fit exam at the end of it. We won't pay for that, but that is it is a cost that does require you. But the qualitative face fit test kit, I think we just go on to just send us a detail, send a question to technical support, technical@jspsafety.com there, and we can sort out getting you on that training course. I think it's every second Thursday. I think we do
once a month, isn't it?
Yeah, on the second Thursday of the
month. Right, sorry, right.
That's all right. Don't worry.
So
okay.
We also do visit your sites as well, but that is a chargeable fee. We will come and face fit train up to 5-8 people in a morning session or afternoon session but that's on site. And then as long as you're a JSP customer, then we will come and do that. And there is a fee for that, depending on whereabouts you are in the country.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay. So yeah, thanks very much for turning up today, everyone. If you do have any questions that come up afterwards, send them along to technical@jspsafety.com, and we will endeavour to answer all of those. And keep safe out there, and make sure you watch out for that dust. The level of effectiveness with a beard or stubble is not generally understood. How many people shave or something? Yeah. It is very poor. You're right out there, and you do need to shave before you wear a tight fitting respirator. I have to wear a loose fitting one, but there's all sorts of ways of doing it. But if you want to wear a tight fitting one, you got to shave. There's no way around that. Okay. Thanks very much for turning up today, and hope you all appreciated it. And as I say, keep safe out there.
Cheers. Bye.